What's good, SML? Welcome to the newest show on the SML network, SML Stone Searching. I'm your host. It's the Fazz, SML Thanos, and with me today is Klinke, one of the children. How you doing, bud?
Hey, I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me today. It's gonna be a good show. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, man, should be a lot of fun. This is going to be just a quick overview for those who are interested. My computer, I think if I were to do anything more than a standard podcast, would probably turn into Meetses on Team Draft Day. So this is going to be just your typical run-of-the-mill SML podcast. Nothing super crazy, no bomber. But, should be a good time. Should be me and Klink most of the time. We're going to definitely try and get Q here as work schedules allow. And then obviously every episode will be in memory of our lost Thanos Club member, the Rowan Ka, gone but never forgotten. So may he rest in peace. But this is the time of the year. We got one thing to talk about, really. It's the one thing that all of SML is talking about outside of personality tests. But it's the team draft. It's going down tomorrow night, so we're excited to drop this first episode. Talk team draft. We got a couple topics here for you. First one, and this is the big one, which comes up every year. Apparently, I've been here for only one previous team draft. But will Prime go Kansas City? And if he does, what is the impact on the league? And does it cheapen any potential wins? Take it away, Klink.
Yeah. So my opinion is no. From understanding the history of Prime, he loves to blow smoke and do fakes, smoke screens of, yeah, I'm going to take this other team, I'm going to take this other team, and then he always ends up with the Colts. It's been his team. He's always battled through a lot of uphill battle to make that Colts team good in recent years since Luck's retired. I think it's something that kind of makes him that guy who can continue to brag and kind of gloat and be called the GOAT because he brings his team from nothing to winning Super Bowls late cycle. If he goes with the Chiefs, man, I mean, you got the best team in the league right from the start, especially offensively. Defensively, they need a little work. People don't realize how much work they need defensively. But he's a good Madden defensive player, and he would scheme it up right to make him good. So, in my opinion, you go to the Chiefs if you're Prime, and you lose a lot of respect from me. I would say he's you bring the best team and you're expected to win. It's not really an accomplishment, an achievement to take the number one team in the league and win a championship. It's more of an achievement to take that 26th ranked team or whatever the Colts are this year and bring them to the number one team in the league and win championships. So I would say that's a big miss if he does that. The other things it impacts too is it opens up that AFC South for people who might be a little scared to go as the Jaguars or take on the Texans rebuild or take on the Titans. I know there's a few guys who don't love to play against Prime, and the Titans will be wide open then. The Jags are wide open for guys who want to kind of have a chance at winning a division, chance at winning a title. I mean, you got to assume that Mike would probably go to the Colts, so you got an average guy with a below average team there now. So it definitely opens up that division a lot more and changes the AFC West dynamic a whole lot. Obviously, you got a bunch of good teams. The Raiders, the Broncos, the Chargers are a great team. I think they fall a little bit further just because of that move. So there's a lot of impact that with where Prime ends up, and it'll be interesting to see what he ends up doing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he is, obviously a huge impact. Not only does he run the league, but he is, 18-time champ. Forget it. I mean, the guy he's real good. He got 2 titles last season. One of 2 teams to do it. So, anywhere he goes, there's the dog. You might want to mute yours. There you go. Anywhere he goes, that's obviously going to impact the division. I think I've gotten some flack for this. I think this is the season that he does it. I do think that he picks Chiefs. I might be the only person in the mock draft challenge to have Prime in Kansas City. And the reason that I see it is, again, this guy's won 18 titles, and he's done it all with the Colts. really, how much more with the Colts do you need to see the guy do before you just say, like, okay, like, clearly, how do you lose respect for somebody when they've already won it 18 times with that team? Now, some of them were with luck, some of them were, early days of the SML where, maybe he was playing with, the neighborhood kids in Indiana. So this was their first game since Farmville. But, even the past, few cycles, he's winning multiple every single cycle with Indy. How much more do you really need to see? I don't think it cheapens any wins at all. In Kansas City, yeah, they're very good. Mahomes is a beast. Tyreek Hill is unguardable. You've got Kelsey, who's unbelievable. But that team has a lot of holes that I don't think people really think about just because they see the Mahomes, the Hill, the Hardman, the Kelsey, Honey Badger. The defense is honestly just kind of not that good at all. They have like no edge rush. You have Chris Jones, but even then his abilities are not super great. I think he gets like goal line stuff, which only activates like part of the time when you're actually in the goal line in El Toro, which I think is good in MUT, but not in CFM. Honey Badger's very good, but already 30. So you don't have a lot of pieces on defense. You really have to build that up. Your salary cap makes it much more difficult to build up than usual. You're paying Mahomes about $1 billion. So there's some holes there. It's obviously they're a lot better than Indy. Don't get me wrong, and they're still an upper echelon team. But I don't think they're the end all be all good team. I don't see it cheapening really anything. I'm hoping he does it. I want to see it. I think it would be a blast to watch the league kind of melt down, watching Prime in Kansas City. And honestly, I want to see how many he can win with Kansas City. So that's my thoughts on it.
Yeah, it's fair. I can't disagree. I like the picking.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's going to be interesting to watch. I can't wait to see it personally. I feel like most leagues number one, it's not super intriguing to watch, but I definitely love the suspense of it, and again, the impact will be huge. So I can't wait to see what he does.
Absolutely. Moving on to topic number 2, I'll pose a question. Who's the most intriguing team draft owner that you're going to be watching here in the draft of where they end up?
So we've got a couple table setters in the top. To me, I think the most interesting one with a ton of domino effect is Woods. I think for a while it was just assumed that he was going to take Jacksonville. You've got Trevor Lawrence, the X Factor rookie, 21-year-old quarterback who's already very good, doesn't even need the development time really. The team has weapons, they're extremely young, easy to dev. But then it came out that he's probably not even leaning there. I can't even tell if they're even on his board anymore. I think maybe that changes if Prime goes KC. Like you said, I think teams will flock to the AFC South now that he's not in it, or if he's not in it. But I think Woods has a couple options. I've heard some rumors on what he might be looking at, and I think his pick honestly influences my pick a ton, and I think my pick thusly then influences a couple others. I know that Panthers are a team that has been mocked to me quite often. I know that I've made some noise about really liking that team. But then you've got a guy like Figs who's been talking about the Bucs. Well, if I go to the Panthers, Figs is not going to the Bucs. He doesn't want to follow me a second season in a row. So, then he goes somewhere else. So I feel like Woods ends up being that first domino in a long line of potential changes on how this thing can go, depending on which team he takes.
Yeah, it's a good one. Obviously, there's a lot that can cascade from who Woods takes, especially if the Jags fall to you. It shakes up the AFC South in a completely different way then. For me, it's Meats. We all know that Meats loves a mobile quarterback. He loves to scramble a little bit, get out on the edges, have the ability to spread you out and just pick up 15 yards every play running the ball with his quarterback. 2 seconds after the ball is snapped, not even letting routes break. So with him, I think if he ends up going with a team like the Bills, who I've seen him mock too often, or a team, similar to that with a escape artist quarterback, I think some of those teams start to fall a little bit more. especially if it's the Bills. The Jets, Patriots, and Dolphins all have some glaring flaws, and so you lose that, and then you have to go up against a good team with the Bills, with a guy who has a scrambling escape artist quarterback who loves to use that ability. I think it's frustrating for a lot of people to play against, and I think it's something that people will shy away from a little bit more than usual, especially. And then you add in the fact that it's the AFC, and you have to go through likely Bomber Dan and Prime in the AFC, regardless of where Prime ends up. It sounds like all three of them are going to be out there, so you kind of combine those two things together, and that AFC East gets really dropped, in my opinion.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I mean, just after playing the game a couple times, I know you're one of probably two people in the entire league to not play Madden 22 yet. Shout out to RD. But it is darn near impossible to contain most mobile quarterbacks. Some of the guys without escape artist, you can kind of do it a little bit, but once you add escape artist to the mix, it is as strong as ever. And then you add Allen's 99 throw power on top of it, and it's not like he's inaccurate from what I've seen. So everything he fires a laser. I played one random online, and every single play he hiked the ball, he sprinted to the sidelines, and he fired a bullet upfield, and it was darn near unguardable. So you factor in the other things like you said, and I definitely agree. So that's going to take us here to our third point. Who is your last team off the board?
Well, the scenario I've got, it's the Patriots going last off the board. Mac Jones, his ratings in Madden, unless they change today, which I don't think they did. I haven't checked it to be frank.
They have not.
Okay, so Mac Jones is not an appealing rookie quarterback to go after. That team is not a young team with a lot of young talent. Team is not something that really draws attention to it. And then you factor in, like I said, I have Meats mocked going to the Bills. So you add in that factor, you add in the AFC factor. That team is very, very unappealing. So it would be very surprising to me to see the Patriots not be the last team taken off the board. I know Figs has kind of said he might take them because he's a Patriots fan. It makes sense. I don't hate anybody if they do that. But outside of Patriots fans, there's not a whole lot to like about that team. You just kind of you break it down top to bottom, and you just go, why would I want this team over virtually any other team who has at least one or two players that are solid, or a couple extra draft picks here or there already that make it so you can build your own team from a fresh slate. So there's the Patriots don't have much of anything. I'm pretty sure they're missing some mid-round picks because they always lose mid-round picks. And, there's just not a whole lot with that team that I would draw to. So that's my last team off the board.
Yeah, I hate to really follow on that, but I don't think there's really another team, especially with rumors of if Prime goes to Indy, then RD is going to take the Texans. I feel the Texans are a team that could probably rival with the Patriots down there, but otherwise I don't see any other real consensus bottom teams. Everything that you mentioned stands. Mac Jones. Obviously we don't know when this patch is coming out. So maybe we get a roster update before then, but they would have to do a lot to Mac Jones to make him kind of stand out as a usable piece. Right now he's normal dev. He's got 85 throw power, so you're gonna have to spend a season, maybe two, getting him to star, or maybe a season to star, and then you really have to work hard to get him to superstar, and it's going to be difficult with that throw power. The defense has pieces, but they're old, so you're pretty much rebuilding them immediately. Your wide receivers are easily the worst in the league. And then, if you have, Meats as the Bills, I don't want to give away, my whole mock necessarily, but I have another good player taking the Jets. So if you're seeing Meats with the Bills, you're seeing another good player with the Jets, and you're walking in there with the Patriots, I mean, that's bringing a knife to a gunfight for sure. So, I don't think there's really much argument from many other teams. Maybe Figs takes them just being a Patriots fan, but, Yeah, I think, push comes to shove, once you're on the board, you're picking, you're looking at all these teams, you can find a lot of things that you like more than anything the Patriots offer you. So I think he'll pretty much be out on that decision once he's really looking for it. So I would agree with you. Patriots at 32.
Yeah, just a quick note too. I mean, the Texans definitely make sense as a 32 team also, but it's looking more and more like Deshaun Watson's not gonna or is gonna be in the game and gonna be on the Texans. So I think that makes him at least usable. Watson's
Yeah.
obviously a player who's more appealing than Mac Jones, in my
Yes.
opinion.
Very much so.
Um, and they have some other pieces that are at least fun to play with. The defense isn't awful. The offense has a couple guys outside of running backs, but if it's anything like last year, that's fine. So, um,
And more
yeah,
cap
I mean, I
space.
think it's who?
And more cap space. So, I mean,
Oh,
the
way
Patriots
more
have
cap
gone out
space.
and spent a whole bunch of money on middle tier guys, older guys that don't help you in Madden. They'll probably challenge for a wild card in real life, but in Madden, that doesn't do anything for you.
Agreed. Agreed. All right, moving on to topic number 4. What team that is not expected to fall will?
So, I have two options for this. The first one is solely dependent on if Prime takes the Chiefs, which, I'm operating under the assumption that he will in my head, just mostly because I'm probably rooting for it. But I have the Broncos literally down at 31. I think if Prime takes the Chiefs, I think you're going to see the Broncos just absolutely tumble because I think you're going to get, I think Dan would end up chasing Prime into that division. We know that RD wants to chase him. So if you're looking at, options like that and you've got those three guys sitting there, who in their right mind is really going to take the Broncos to go get kind of bullied in that division? I think if Prime doesn't take the Chiefs, my other team that I see is the Dolphins. I played with Tua. He wasn't very good, very inaccurate. He's got a slow release. His throw power is not super high, and he's mediocre fast, but he's not, escape artist fast. And I don't think that you could get him to get escape artist. I don't think his ratings are high enough. So, the Dolphins are a team, and this especially then if they end up making this trade for Watson that was rumored a couple days ago and nothing came of. If they run out of all those picks, and then just for Watson, I don't think there's a whole ton of reason to go get them. So I have the Dolphins falling pretty far in my mock, and I don't see. They were a team I was very high on when I was first looking at team selection, and as I dove deeper into them, I think that they're going to end up kind of being exposed through this draft.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. I mean, the Broncos, especially if Prime goes out to the AFC West, it makes sense. And the Dolphins, I got them in our other league and haven't even touched them, playing with them yet. But
You
I could
haven't even
definitely
touched
see
the
them
game.
falling.
You haven't played with anybody yet.
No, I've downloaded the game at least to this point, but
That's
haven't
progress.
even turned it on yet. There's an update that's updating apparently, but I don't know why. So for me, I have the Ravens falling, which I think is kind of against the grain at this point, especially after what I've said with mobile quarterbacks and all that. Um, but I think people will be a little scared off by how bad Lamar was with throwing throughout the season last year. I know last cycle I played with him a little bit in the pre-cycle and a little bit just offline just to have some fun with Lamar, and it never like it wasn't awful to start, but it seemed like his accuracies and everything got worse as you played with him more. And you kind of see that or saw that with NYT with him last year. I mean, he just couldn't move the ball through the air efficiently with Lamar. This year, obviously, the passing was better. I think that that history scares people off a little bit more, and then you factor into that. I expect Bomber to go Browns, and I expect Dan to chase Bomber over chasing Prime. Um, that's just who knows where everything's going to end up. But if you get those two teams sitting in the AFC North, just like you said with going to chase, Prime, RD, and Dan, then I wouldn't want to go chase Dan and Bomber at the same rate unless you really want to put yourself through that. But you're talking some really talented teams in the AFC North who know how to team build, who are going to be forces for an entire cycle. And then you go in with the Ravens, who have Lamar Jackson, Marquise Brown, Hollywood Brown, and an older defense after losing Judon especially, and some other solid pieces back there. They're not something you go out and say, yeah, I want to take on these two juggernauts with the Ravens, and especially with there's only a couple guys that love the escape artist stuff, and I don't have any of them going out to Baltimore, so I think they could fall down, and a lot of those middle of the pack guys are afraid to chase the big dogs. And so when you kind of factor all that together, you end up with the Ravens slipping down into the low teens, mid 20s range, I would say, which I think would be a big surprise for a team with such a dynamic force at quarterback.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's we're talking. This is a guy with Lamar that has been compared to 04 Vic. So we're talking like one of the best Madden players of all time, potentially on the board for somebody to take. But in a sim league, you run the risk of, how much do I use him? You're thinking about it all the time. Am I using him too much? Is somebody going to complain? Am I going to get my evals docked? And it kind of ruins the fun a little bit when you're overthinking everything you do, and then you're trying to turn him into a pocket passer, but like you said, he's generally not that good at it. So then you're taking yourself out of games. It becomes a bit of a headache. I know that I was actually scrimmaging with the Ravens for a little bit because I thought it might be potentially fun to kind of build an offense around. I mean, Lamar, he's unlike any other player in the game. I heard a stat. He actually is faster than every single defensive player in the game. So there's not one defensive player that can keep up with Lamar's speed, and Lamar is a quarterback. So, that's unlike anything that you can find on any other team. So I thought it might be fun to toy around with that, see if I can do something crazy with the playbook and build something around him. But at the end of the day, it's just a little too difficult to balance and to, not basically turn it into abuse while also then, utilizing his skill set. He's kind of a broken player for, sim style play. So, it's very interesting. I can definitely get on board with that pick.
Yeah, no, you can't forget Hollywood Brown, man. Like, from what I've watched of people playing, obviously I still haven't picked up the game. What I've watched though is these quick receivers on those post routes, and once they get into that, breaking through those deep halves, cover 2 zones, even a lot of cover 3 zones, they just blow right past them, and they're up above the safeties constantly. So you factor that in, but how much can Lamar hit Marquise?
Sure.
Is he going to underthrow him? Is he going to be able to get the ball out there? I haven't tested it. I haven't seen it tested a whole lot. I'm sure, it's probably more than 50% he can, but are you willing to, again, abuse that system, like you said, of only hitting deep routes and running with Lamar? Marquise is not the best route runner, but he'll take the top off of anybody in the way the defense reacts currently. So it's going to be interesting. I'm looking forward to tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is this is probably one of the craziest times of the year for SML. It's been fun, talking about this, each and every day in the Discord. I'm excited to see how it wraps up. Obviously, we had our primer draft tonight. A couple interesting team selections there. A couple fallers, couple surprise teams. So I'm interested to see how it all plays out. We are under the 24-hour mark at this point, so only a little bit left to go. But we are right at the 24-minute mark. We were hoping to hit in between 20 and 25, so we did an actual phenomenal job in doing that. Great work, Klink.
Got it.
Yeah, that was. So this is our first episode. Thank you guys for tuning in. This should be fun to continue recording throughout the season. I know I personally am looking forward to it. So, Klink, thanks for joining me, and we will see you boys tomorrow for the SML team draft. Let's get it.